Are we live? Are we live on the internet yet? Has YouTube woken up? If not, it's because of the Russians. Are the Russians stopping YouTube? Oh no, here we are. We're live. Okay. All right, we're live. I was worried for a second the Russians were stopping YouTube. But no. Hello everybody. Welcome to Get Your News On with Jeremy or whatever this show's called. I have a poem for you this holiday season. 'Twas impeachment eve. 'Twas impeachment eve. And all through the house, we were giving high fives, even the guys from the South. But we decided even Trump deserves a holiday gift. So we gave him the Patriot Act, the new NAFTA, we squashed net neutrality, we gave him a $738 billion Pentagon budget. Because the truth is, this is all a big grift. By now you might think the resistance is a joke. Go to sleep, America, as I take another toke. I'll still be rich as you all watch in suspense. And maybe if we're all lucky, we'll get President Pence. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. That was Adam Schiff. He had a little holiday poem for you guys. It was kind of weird, but yeah. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is having a killer week so far. It's only Tuesday. It's I hope the holidays aren't stressing you out too much. I hope you're wrapping some things up at work to put a bow on the year, if you will. And I guess it's not quite a send-off yet, which, by the way, our last episode of the year will be Monday, December 23rd. That will be our last episode of the year. That's typically always our last episode of the year. Fun fact, 23, also my lucky number. Kind of cool all around. But check this out. Edwin shares this. So Bernie Sanders has been calling out the deficit hawks in both parties who support the Pentagon budget. All right, so let's check this out. Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed, and I guess it was scathing. So Bernie Sanders calls out the deficit hawks in both parties who support $738 billion Pentagon budget, but claim the U.S. can't afford Medicare for all. All right, so here's what Bernie had to say. I find it ironic that when I and other progressive members of Congress propose legislation to address the many unmet needs of workers, the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor, we are invariably asked, how will we pay for it? Yet we rarely hear that question with regards to huge increases in military spending, tax breaks for billionaires, or massive subsidies for the fossil fuel industries. As Common Dreams reported last week, this is back to the article, Sanders, in a joint statement with Ro Khanna, announced his opposition to the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act, sweeping legislation that increased the Pentagon budget by $22 billion. And it also sets aside money for the creation of Donald Trump's long-sought Space Force. Now, the House, with the support of 188 Democrats, passed that last week. The Senate is expected to vote on the measure as early as Tuesday. That would likely be today. And Trump has indicated he will sign the measure. You know, again, this is one of those things. In the United States, we can't have, in other countries, I was in Scotland, for instance, and I was at the Immigration Center. They have a pie chart indicating how they spend their budget, where they say this much gets spent on the military, this much gets spent on education, this much gets spent on the arts, this much gets spent on media, this much gets spent on, you get the idea, parks and upkeep. The United States could not have that because our graph would just be war, 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 and then there'd be this little sliver that's barely visible. And it would just say everything else. It would just be like war pretty much for the entire circle. Ugh, I can't talk today. Pretty much the entire circle will just be war. And then there will be a little sliver that pretty much just says everything else. So they can't have that. So Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed about this. Let's see what else there is to this. Sanders wrote Tuesday that at a time when we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, when half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck, when more than 500,000 Americans are homeless, and when public schools throughout the country are struggling to pay their teachers a livable salary, it is time to change our national priorities. When it comes to giving the Pentagon $738 billion, even more money than it requested, there is a deafening silence within Congress and the ruling elites about what our nation can and cannot afford. Congress will just authorize and appropriate all this money without one penny in offsets, no questions asked. I find it curious that few of the deficit hawks are asking if it is fiscally prudent to be spending more on defense than the next 10 countries combined, more than half of our nation's discretionary budget. And there is little discussion taking place as to why the Pentagon, riddled with fraud, cost overruns, and corporate price fixing, is the only major agency of government that has not successfully undergone an independent audit. In other words, they get the most money, they get tons of it. We never ask, can we afford this? Democrats and Republicans alike are complicit in it. They just go along with it. So does the president. And there's no accountability within the organization either. There's no audit going on within the Pentagon. That's incredible. Meanwhile, we're told that we can't have all these things other countries with less than wealth than us take for granted. We can't give everyone health care. We can't afford it. We can't have tuition-free college. We can't have living wages. We can't do anything about housing. We can't do anything about poverty. We can't do anything about our food culture. We can't afford any of those things because all of this budget goes to war. But when it all goes to war, we never ask any questions. We never ask, how are we going to pay for that? How can we afford that? Wow. I mean, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And then you have people on the so-called left that still justify, oh, well, we have to have baby steps. We can't just give everybody health care. We can't just give everybody a tuition-free college. Yeah, we can, actually. We totally can. In fact, you look at all of Bernie Sanders' plans, he lays out how it will be paid for. And by the way, Medicare for all, cheaper than what we're currently doing. Even a Koch brothers funded study revealed that Medicare for all, cheaper than what we're currently doing. We will save money. So good for Bernie for writing that op-ed. We'll see, we'll kind of see where it goes. I mean, usually whenever somebody goes after the Pentagon budget, even though it totally makes sense in so many ways, they're attacked for being unpatriotic, or they're attacked for, not standing with the military or something like that. And the same thing will happen to Sanders. And he'll take it not just from the right. It's not just a Republican attack. He'll take it from some of his fellow Democrats on the debate stage too. Because a lot of them are complicit in this. A lot of them stand by it. Speaking of complicit people running for president, here's something that Joe, my editor with the mostest, shares about Pete Buttigieg. And this is an opinion piece from TruthDig. And it's hinting that, Buttigieg has seen a surge in popularity. He's also seen a surge in billionaire dinners. I'm sure those two things are completely unrelated. I'm sure that money in politics doesn't really matter that much. And I'm sure that all the money he's getting has nothing to do with the fact that he is polling slightly higher. I'm sure those two things are totally unrelated. I'm sure it has everything to do with that incredibly inspiring Panic at the Disco dance. I'm sure that's all it is. But apparently that popularity is fading a little bit, according to this opinion piece. Corporate media can't understand why voters don't like Buttigieg. So after polling averages showed him as a front runner in the Iowa and New Hampshire Democratic nomination contest, journalists predicted South Bend, Indiana mayor and presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg would be in the hot seat at last month's debate in Atlanta. Everyone's going to come for Pete. He faces the spotlight, declared Politico. All right, blah, blah, blah. But despite having a black moderator and being in a majority black city, the MSNBC Washington Post debate only directed a single vaguely worded question about Mayor Pete Buttigieg's outreach to African-American voters, to Kamala Harris, with Buttigieg never being directly asked about the Intercept's report that his campaign fabricated endorsements from prominent black leaders in South Carolina. Yeah, they never asked him about that. The alleged Buttigieg boom may now be crumbling under this candidate's stubborn opacity around his funders and great swaths of his career, as well as the entry into the field of fellow smug centrist Michael Bloomberg. We got another smug centrist here. We got a smug centrist to compete with the other smug centrist, which, by the way, is a perfect description for both of those candidates. Michael Bloomberg, Pete Buttigieg, smug centrists unite. Such as it was, the phenomenon was largely based on two small white states early in the primary process. Buttigieg showed few signs of breaking out of fourth place, either nationally or in larger, more diverse states like California. Yeah, in California, he's not all that popular, but he does get a lot of Hollywood-funded dinners there. He does get a lot, like the Hollywood elite. They'll have him for dinner. They'll throw some money at him, see if it sticks. Amidst the voters, not so much. And here's a couple quotes. The corporate media have a practice of outsizing the attractiveness and viability of centrist candidates, including shielding them from critical examination. And here's a quote from Politico that this piece highlights. Before suggesting his early wins might put him in their crosshairs, Politico's Jack Schaefer had explained media's coddling Buttigieg's candidacy by relating it to the favorable treatment of corporate media's previous political shooting star, former presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke. Why the media dumped Beto for Mayor Pete, offered a self-conscious list of press-attracting qualities, plays a decent piano, once gave a TED Talk, an old person's idea of what a young person should be like. None of those things have anything to do with policy, by the way. None of those things, not one of those things has anything to do with policy. Oh, he plays the piano, he speaks languages, he talks nice, he's appealing to old people. They kind of like him. He's what they want a young person to be like. None of these have anything to do with policy. None of these have anything to do with the fact that he said on Twitter in 2018 that he supports Medicare for all, has completely flipped on that. He doesn't support Medicare for all. He supports the status quo when it comes to healthcare. He supports the status quo when it comes to the military. In fact, he's a war hawk himself. He barely learned how to be a mayor. Now he's trying to be president. He didn't do anything about a racist police force in South Bend. And you know what? According to some folks on Twitter, didn't do anything about the potholes either. And he's running for president. And I guess his popularity is slipping a little bit amidst voters because, like Beto O'Rourke, he doesn't offer anything. He offers nothing. And the more you dig into this guy, you find the less there is to like. He's an establishment darling and nothing more. And guess what? We live in an anti-establishment time. This is an anti-establishment time. That's part of how Trump won. Trump sold this lie, and it's a lie, but nonetheless, Trump sold this lie that he was the anti-establishment dude. He was outside the system. He was breaking the mold. And enough people gambled on that. Enough people were like, well, maybe, okay. I mean, I'm tired of the Washington status quo as usual. I'm tired of, I voted for Obama, got my hopes up. My life didn't get any better. My life didn't get better under Clinton. My life certainly didn't get better under George W. Bush. I'm tired of the Beltway. I wanted an outsider, and they took a chance on Trump. We're still in that outsider time. So only an outsider can beat him. And that outsider sure as hell isn't Pete Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is as far from an outsider as you can get. He even said when he was point blank asked, hey, man, are you going to not take all these billionaire donations? He just said no, all smugly. Smug centrists unite. So I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, we're heating up. But as this article points out, people are making it out like Pete Buttigieg is surging. Really, he's just getting a bunch of money thrown at his campaign. And he's not really gaining a ton of footing nationally. He's still in about fourth place. But CNN will tell you it's a strong fourth. Joe, thank you for sharing that. Let's see here. What else do we got? So this is from Tim. Tim, thank you for sharing this. So this happened. The Supreme Court leaves in place a ruling barring the prosecution of homeless. That's I guess they felt the holiday spirit. And they're like, we're not going to prosecute the homeless. We're not going to help them, but we won't prosecute them. Happy holidays. All right, let's see what's going on here. U.S. cities have struggled over the years with how to address the issue of homelessness. I have an idea. I have an idea. How about we give people housing? How about that? How about we make housing a human right? Dare to dream, right? Dare to dream. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday refused to hear Boise's defense of its policy of sometimes prosecuting homeless people for sleeping in public after a lower court found ordinances in Idaho's capital violated the U.S. Constitution's bar on cruel and unusual punishment. The justices left in place a 2018 ruling by the San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals that fining or jailing homeless people for staying outside or in unauthorized places if a bed at an emergency shelter is not available is unconstitutional. The city had appealed that ruling, arguing that that decision threatened public health and safety. U.S. cities have struggled over the years with how to address the issue of homelessness, putting in place various local laws. The case centered on 2 Boise ordinances that prohibited camping or disorderly conduct by lodging or sleeping in public. The city said it needed to enforce ordinances to prevent the formation of encampments that can lead to unsanitary conditions and crimes such as drug dealing and gang activity, and to keep public spaces accessible for residents, visitors, and wildlife. 6 current or former homeless Boise residents who were prosecuted under the ordinances, Robert Martin, Robert Anderson, Lawrence Lee Smith, Basil Humphrey, Janet Bell, and Pamela Hawks, sued the city in federal court in 2009, arguing the laws violated their constitutional rights. All right, so the Ninth Circuit ruled that the Constitution's 8th Amendment, which bars cruel and unusual punishment, prohibits punishing homeless people if there are more of them than there are available shelter beds. The ruling allows the plaintiffs to seek an injunction against enforcement of the city's ordinances. So how about you build more shelter beds? How about you do that? How about you build more shelter beds? Instead of enforcing these laws, which, by the way, guess what? It costs money to enforce laws. That costs money. Taking people to jail, keeping them in jail, putting them in court, having people patrol the streets to arrest people, make sure no one's sleeping in a public space because they don't have a home. That all costs money and resources. So why don't you take those money and resources and instead build more beds, get more resources available for the homeless? Why don't you treat them like people who need help instead of criminals? It's not a crime to be homeless. It's a crime that we have homelessness in the richest country in the world. That's the difference. And you know me. I mean, I'm in principle, and I know we're talking about like utopia pretty much here, but the way I see it, if I was building a society from scratch, housing would be a human right. And you know the way we deal with homelessness, if anyone doesn't have housing, if there's any type of homelessness issue, everybody has to go outside and fix it. And no one gets to go back home until we fix it. That's what I would do in my Sims game. Like, someone does it, get out of your house. Get out. We're fixing this right now. But seriously, housing should be a human right. And you know me, I don't think there should be public property. Retract. I don't think there should be private property. I know that's not a change I will ever see in my lifetime. So it's not like that's something I'm working towards. I will never see that change in my lifetime. But I think if we were starting a society from scratch, there should be no private property. And by the way, just to prevent, when I say that, I don't mean this isn't my shirt. This is everybody's shirt. No, this is my shirt. When I say private property, I'm referring to housing and land. That should be owned and operated by the state, by an elected government that then oversees everybody having housing. That's the utopia I would like. That's the utopia I would like. And I know it sounds like a dream, and in many ways it is. And it's certainly, I'll never see that at least not in this country. Maybe in other countries, there's a chance like some of them could get to that point. Countries like Denmark, where there are more, there's laws that protect the citizens more against predatory renting practices and against, just predatory housing practices in general. Basically, our whole real estate market in other countries, stuff like that isn't legal. You can't do that, but at least not to the extent you can here. But yeah, I don't know. I have an idea, Idaho. Why don't you build more resources instead of spending these resources to throw people in jail? Why don't you spend the resources to build more beds and to make more resources available for your homeless community? But that's just how we act in the United States. If somebody is homeless, they're a criminal. If somebody is addicted to drugs, they're a criminal. If somebody, we'd rather just throw people in jail. Why? Are we that hostile of a society? I don't think we are. I don't think humanity is that brutal. I think maybe the fact that we have a for-profit prison system that builds a demand for prisoners is part of the reason that stuff like that happens. I think maybe that's part of it. But let's end on a positive. It was nice that the Supreme Court, here, let's go back to the Supreme Court showed some holiday spirit. The Supreme Court, they were like, guys, the holidays are upon us. We're not going to prosecute we're not going to help you. You're still sleeping outside in the dead of winter. Come on, we're not miracle workers here, but we're not going to prosecute you. We're not going to throw you in jail. Isn't that nice? Come on. Can't say we never did anything for you, homeless. Supreme Court. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Tim. All of our holiday spirits are lifted. So Heather shares this with me, and so this is something a little more uplifting. I like this. This is some good news in the Muni broadband world. Today, Portland's Municipal Broadband organization is meeting. Check this out. So the next Municipal Broadband Town Hall is December 17th, and that's in Gresham. So if you're in the Portland area, please do consider attending this. So let's go to the event page, see what all they're doing. And let me bring it over for you guys. So this is the event. This is the Multnomah. All right. Yeah, that sounds right. Multnomah County. Multnomah County Municipal Broadband Town Hall. This is in the East County in the Portland area. This is a free event. Learn about and give your input on the Municipal Broadband Publicly Owned Internet Access Initiative in Multnomah County in Portland, Oregon. About this event, did you know Multnomah County, Portland, Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village are studying the feasibility of building a publicly owned internet service provider, ISP. If constructed, this municipal ISP would aim to serve every resident and business in Multnomah County. We're excited to convene this town hall to engage you with the feasibility study. Join us to learn about the challenges and opportunities of a municipal broadband network. Representatives from Multnomah County and the city of Gresham will be present to give an overview of their work and to answer your questions. You will also be able to provide input directly to the feasibility study. To understand the best way to build the network, we're asking communities across the county to express their ideas, needs, and wants about internet access. We will facilitate the discussion. You just need to come prepared with a few thoughts about what you'd like to see in your ISP. Elected officials at this event: Multnomah County Commissioner Jessica Vega Peterson, Gresham City Councilor Eddie Morales, and Multnomah County Commissioner Lori Stegman in District 4. A light dinner and refreshments will be served at the event. Seating is limited, so reserve your spot early. How cool is that? So they're having an event where they're going to discuss all the issues around municipal broadband, and they're working on building it, and they're getting the city involved early. And that is a really good idea. That is a super, super good idea and an incredibly smart way to go about it. Get the community involved, explain what municipal broadband is all about, explain what city-owned internet is all about, and ask them, what do you want to see? So if you're in the Portland area, again, so let me give that info again here. If you're in the Portland area, that is happening tonight, and it is, where does it, oh, there we go. It is at Multnomah County East, Sharon Kelly Room, A and B at 600 Northeast H Street in Gresham, Oregon. If you're in the Portland area, please do attend this event. Please consider attending this event. And do me a favor, if you do attend this event, I know a lot of you are in the Portland area. If you do attend this event, please email me and tell me about it so that I can follow up on this. This is happening tonight. So if you have time tonight, please do attend. What was the start time on that? Starts at 5:30 p.m. It goes to 8. So there it is again. The Multnomah County East, Sharon Kelly, Room A and B, 600 Northeast 8th Street in Gresham, Oregon. So if you are able to, please attend this event and do me a solid. Let me know how it went. Give me the information about it, because that's how we're taking our internet back. That is how we're going to take our internet back, and that's how we're going to preserve a free and open internet around the country. We're going to build it in every city and municipality across the country. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. And I should also mention my tour dates. I got them. Tour dates, I got them. 2020 is upon us, folks. And here's what's confirmed so far. February 8th, Graham Elwood and I are coming to Tucson, Arizona. February 29th, San Francisco, California. Yeah. March 12th, Orlando, Florida. March 14th, Miami, Florida. We're working on Tampa, March 13th. April 10th, I will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon, which, by the way, hope to meet some of the Muni Broadband folks in Portland. I'll reach out. It'd be cool to see some of those folks. They're doing some really cool stuff. July 11th, Chicago, Illinois. July 12th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. All those tickets are available now at romflacone.com. And guess what? We just confirmed Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, can't wait to see you again. You were a blast the first time. In fact, I recorded my album, Louisville. I recorded my first album in Louisville, so maybe I'll be recording the second one there too. We'll see what happens. But Louisville, June 19th, mark your calendars. Tickets will be available very soon. And Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan. We just confirmed May 15th in Detroit, Michigan. Tickets will be available very soon. And we're coming at you. New York, we're coming back September 10th. We're going to be back in New York City. Tickets for that will be available soon. And we're coming back. We're coming back to Boston. We're going to try to get to Portland, Maine. We're going to try to get to Burlington, Vermont, Cleveland, Ohio, Cincinnati. We're touring a bunch, guys. We are touring a bunch. Romflacone.com for all those tickets that are available now, and more tickets will be announced by the day. We should have some more tickets available very soon. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, patreon.com/romflacone for a Give What You Can level. You get all kinds of exclusive content. You get my album. You get dialogues between myself and my cat, Lucy. All kinds of fun stuff for a Give What You Can level. And you help me expand this show. I want to start doing mini documentaries next year around the issue of municipal broadband, city-owned internet, and other issues as well. I need resources to do that. I need to have editors. I need to have camera people. I need to have directors, and I need resources to do that. So patreon.com/romflacone if you want to help me expand this ship. And if you are able to help me expand this ship, even $1 a month goes a very, very long way. And in return, you get all kinds of fun, cool, exclusive content, including a patrons-only stream where I do a stream just for the patrons. Guys, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And until then, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.